All right, well, good evening, and thank you. Welcome back. We are excited tonight to talk to you about our AAA. So we've talked about Huron Valley Schools being a AAA district for many years. It's sort of a tagline, and we talk about AAA. It's really the arts, athletics, and academics. And tonight we want to share with you a plus A. There's really a fourth A, and that is the activities, the opportunities students have to engage with various extracurricular activities. So I'm not going to steal too much of Scott's thunder on that. But anyway, so thank you again, and we're happy to be back. So we're going to start off again the same place where we have in the previous presentations, and that is with our strategic plan, the 1.0 work. And goal statement number 1 is around innovative programming, and specifically focusing on objective 1.2, that the Huron Valley Schools will implement flexible scheduling and structures designed to maximize learning opportunities for all students. So when we're talking about AAA or the AAA plus A, that really is giving opportunities for kids to engage in the arts, the athletics, the academics, or those other extracurricular activities. How are kids connecting to school? We also wanted to bring forward goal number 4, which is around social and emotional support. And we haven't spent much time with this strategic planning committee talking about other areas of the strategic plan. But the 4th goal was in social emotional support. And specifically, there were 2 implementation pieces here under Objective 4.1 that we wanted to lift tonight. And that was providing access to extracurricular activities where staff are available and willing beyond the school day by removing barriers. And those barriers include things like transportation and financial cost and staff available to lead these activities for students. And we want to do that while ensuring the district remains fiscally responsible and consistent with board policy. The other implementation statement was to develop an inclusive and student-driven mentorship initiative, formal and informal, to cultivate connections between students across the district, targeting the academics, the athletics, the arts, etc. So these things that we're speaking tonight are really driven from that strategic plan 1.0. And so with that, I am going to turn it over to Scott, who you've already met, and Megan as well, that are going to talk to us about AAA in Huron Valley.
Thank you, John. Okay, I just wanted to highlight really quick, we don't spend a lot of time because we understand our 4 A's, but we have our arts, athletics, academics, and then our activities. And a lot of these, especially in our arts, tend to be both curricular, co-curricular, and extracurricular. So co-curricular being there is a class within the school, and then there is something that extends beyond the day, especially at our secondary level, a choir class that leads to a choir concert, band class, band concert. Some of them are strictly extracurricular. Same thing in athletics, we see a lot of extracurricular, and in both of these first 2, because Scott's going to talk about the last 2, you also see a lot of connection within our community groups, which we want to enhance and continue to enhance with building those relationships with Rec and Ed, with community groups, with anyone across the board to help enhance what happens in these top 2, but all 4 as well.
We got the 3rd A, academics, obviously, right? You're talking English, science, math, social studies. When you think of school, you think of academics, right? Okay, it's a thing. So, in the process. So talking about that. And then we bring in this plus A portion, which is where I spent the last 18 years of my life, in the activities portion. These are also co-curricular, but mostly a lot of times extracurricular. So you're looking at things like robotics, DECA, National Honor Society, Art Club, class officers, students holding on to Christ, diverse student union, debate, chess club. We have a chess club. We still do. Women in STEM programs, all these other different things. That brings in a 4th A to Huron Valley, which is the activities part. So think non-athletic type of opportunities for students out there in that process. So that's kind of our 4 A's with arts, athletics, academics, and activities. So.
Okay, and I just wanted to share with you some of the work that we have been doing for the last couple of years, because this topic has actually been fresh on our minds while we've been looking at just how much involvement we have with our students in arts, athletics, and activities, and what we can do to support and promote even more. So we developed an ad hoc committee called the AAA Ad Hoc Committee. We didn't have that 4th A when we started. We just recently added that. Academics is just as important, but we were looking at really the activities, the arts and athletics, And we believe, and we know research strongly suggests that students who are involved in school in these academic or these outside of academic areas have really strong connections and influence with the academics, both academically, social, emotionally, and just knowing that students with peer groups and interest groups, they are developing that whole child concept. So back in 21-22, we conducted lots of surveys. We surveyed students and staff and parents and community members, and we were really after two big questions. We wanted to know how much involvement we currently had with our students, and we also wanted to know what were the barriers perhaps to getting kids more involved. So one of the findings is that we found out that a lot of high school students and our secondary in particular are involved in arts activities and athletics. And that came from just self-surveys for students and also looking at the data for how many students are signing up for activities after school, how many students are involved in the arts and athletics. We also found on the flip side that a lot of our elementary students are not as involved. There's not as many opportunities at that level. Just from the day of the school day and the after school activities were not as available to those elementary students as it were to the secondary. Another finding that we had is that we might need to do a little bit more in the marketing and the advertising around this area. Some kids didn't know that some of these opportunities were available to them. We wanted to make sure that we're getting the message out, that these clubs and things that could maybe be a little outside of the traditional activities, where we could engage students in that way. So just more promotions and marketing and things like that for activities. We also found some barriers, things that we know we're limiting our students. One is transportation. That's a large one. We can't necessarily run another bus route for the elementary schools or the secondary schools for students who are not able to stay after and get a ride home. So that's a big barrier and something to consider with the innovative programming and the strategic planning work. Another limitation is just the day schedule, just being able to fit in extra opportunities, especially at the elementary level. The special schedule is a challenge every year and trying to find ways to give kids more opportunities that way. And then, of course, what came out in many of our staff member surveys is that these incentives to do this extracurricular work after school, we need to incentivize them. So whether that's paying for coaches and teachers and other staff members to come in after, or find some creative ways to get people, to feel that their time is valuable and that this is an important thing that we do for students. Okay, turn it back over to Scott.
So on our considerations and needs, we came up with like 5 bullets. The first one here, best practices, which is what we're all into. Connections to school lead to greater success. Students who are connected to school show better success. They show higher higher academics, higher improvement overall, better social, emotional, all that stuff. And in that way, participation in peer groups and interest activities promotes well-being of the whole child. Again, talk about what Lena mentioned earlier with the whole child concept. We're not just developing students in one specific academic area or whatever. We're talking about the whole piece, from social, emotional to academics to athletics to activities across the board. So another consideration, we talked about scheduling logistics. Student interest and enrollment is always a thing. You're not going to run a club if nobody wants to be a part of it, okay? If you've got a club that's got 100 kids in it, well, then you got to talk about that, you know what I mean? And how big is that club going to be, and how many people do you need to run that club? What's your interest going to be like? You know what I mean? Where's that go? Are they going to travel? What are they going to do, okay? And then transportation options. We talked about such things of scheduling logistics, how there being sometimes an issue with transportation, along the ways, and how can we improve that? Could we run an activities bus? Could we run an activities bus route, especially at the elementary level, in the evening somehow? Logistically work that out, to where the students could participate more. We can get more of those elementary school kids, again, to promote that whole child, start early, get them involved across the board. So I hand it over to Meg here.
As we mentioned pretty much in every TLT presentation, staffing is always a concern. Creating, retaining, and attracting not only qualified staff and teachers, but also mentors. Some of these categories don't require a qualified teacher, but they do need a qualified mentor. If my robotics team, I need somebody from GM. That's an important piece of what's happening. So making sure we're able to attract and retain those people and creating an attractive environment for them to be a part of. As far as resources and how do we continue, we talked about marketing, advertising, and promotion, and constantly finding ways to not only celebrate all of the great things that our kids are doing, but what are those opportunities? How do they not know they're there? This led to a little bit of a discussion. We've just kind of started to talk about a really comprehensive activity guide. Continuing Rec and Ed has one. Different community groups have them. Buildings have them. maybe there could be a centralized resource where all of those things and you could come to and say, I go to Huron Valley, I go to Spring Mills. What opportunities exist there for me, not only at Spring Mills, but in my surrounding direct community areas. So really we're just kind of starting and jump-starting that conversation about what that might mean and how we might be able to partner with our community groups, building those community relationships throughout the year in each area. And then of course, you know, we always need money. There it is. I'll say it. We need money. No, increased funding for all the great things. A lot of these, because they're extracurricular, a lot of them are self-funded or only partially funded. So the staffing might have Schedule B attached to it. That's a really big piece a lot. But then nothing else is, right? Just because of whatever those means are. So like I run a theater program and while I get Schedule B, that's it. Everything else in my budget comes from fundraising and ticket sales and donations and advertising and all those other pieces. And so how can we help each of our groups, athletics, academics, the activities, promote their events? It all kind of, to me, all ties together to make one great package so that I always say kids come to school sometimes for the AAA plus. I'm going to get math, I'm going to get English, no matter where I go. But can I be a part of that marching band or that robotics team or that cross-country team or football team? This is why they stay and why they come and why a lot of them succeed additionally in the classroom and why their academics will be higher if they're retained and connected to their environment and their community. There's some pictures. Back to you.
Thank you, Megan. So again, just to close and wrap up, it comes back to our mission statement: inspiring and building futures one student at a time. We have about 8,000 students in Huron Valley schools. Not all of them are star athletes. Not all of them are comfortable getting up on the stage and performing. But what our goal is as a school district is to provide opportunities for each and every one of our students to find an area where they connect, where they excel, what their passion is. And I just want to reflect back on all of the presentations that we've talked about as part of our innovative programs, from our gifted and talented programming to our CTE programming to our innovative structures and how we can schedule the school day or structure our programs. It really comes back to our mission and supporting our students in the way that engage them, like Megan said, really engage them and allow them to be successful. So we really appreciate your attention tonight and happy to take any questions.